Hello, ladies and gentlemen from around the world. Welcome to another. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Global Talkative Series. Now, it's a global platform to collaborate, you know, uh, hang out and inspire one another, especially during these challenging times in the history of human race. And what a wonderful opportunity to have men of like passion come on this show and then discuss and talk about what is happening in our world. And today is not an exception. Uh, we've been blessed on this show to have wonderful guests come on this show, and our guest is also joining us, on Instagram. And today, uh, we're always thinking of way to make our broadcast wonderful and better. So we are streaming to you live from our global talkative series here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and we're reaching you live on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch. That's a new one, on Periscope, on LinkedIn, and on VK. VConnect, especially for those who are watching us in the part of Scandinavian and Russia part, of the world. So we just want to make sure that we have all our guests, and all our audiences from around the world get the best of our show. So our guest today is no other person than a wonderful man by the name of Mr. Oluwadele Bolutife. And like we do it on this show, I'm going to read. I'm just going to read the short bio about our guest so that we can have a clear understanding of who we are chatting with. So here is the brief bio about our guest. Mr. Bolujefe Oluwadele is a highly resourceful public policy analyst, chartered accountant, management strategist, diligent fraud investigator, trainer with considerable experiences in management consulting, taxation, human development and investigation, including due diligence and pre-operational reviews and advisory. He is a corporate governance expert, educated in Leeds Beckett University, Leeds, United Kingdom, and Walden University in the United States of America. A profile, writer, newspaper contributor, is the author of a unique book, Thoughts of a Village Boy. Though widely exposed, he cherishes the name Village Boy as it constantly reminds him of his roots. He lives in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and married with children. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Mr. Bolutefe. How are you today?
Thank you, Ajayi. Thank you very much for the brief introduction. I think you have to put the link onto Facebook. I've been trying to figure it out on Facebook so that a lot of
Okay,
my followers would like to join us on Facebook.
yeah, okay. Oh, so well, I want to appreciate those who are joining us. Really Adigboyi from London, United Kingdom. Thank you. Namos Derla, thank you. Molia Fashogbon from Vancouver, thank you. And those who are joining us from around the world on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch, on Instagram, and all of those platforms. Thank you very much. And today's topic of discussion is we're talking about the cry of a nation. The cry of a nation. That is the topic of our discussion today. The cry of a nation. And if you have any question, you can actually send your question, from Facebook or YouTube or Instagram or Twitch or LinkedIn, and then we'll do our best to, address this question. So, Mr. Bolutufe, without missing word, we know what is happening in Nigeria now. It's been a very turbulent time, challenging times in our dear country. I'm from Nigeria by birth, you're from Nigeria, but we live in the Western world now, and we cannot, appear not to be worried or challenged or troubled about the state of the nation. So let's go straight into the discussion today. What is your take on the present situation in Nigeria? Now, what is your take?
Yeah, the situation in Nigeria now is not encouraging. It is very tough. It looks like, beyond the linguistic uh, saying that the poorer are getting poorer and the richer are getting richer. The situation in Nigeria, like the poorer are getting poorer, the poorer are getting secured, the poorer are literally no longer having life. And when you don't have life, even in your own country, that situation can't be worse than that. So the situation in the country is terrible. I mean, everything has collapsed. No education, no electricity, no job. I mean, mention it. It's like the country itself is hanging on the balance. Things are terrible. If we have to be very sincere with ourselves, despite that we are, like you rightly say, we are not at home. We still feel the impact. Even, I mean, sometimes I ask myself, if I'm here and I still feel this impact, this terrible, what happens to those who stay at home, who live at home? What are they feeling? What are they going through? So things are not looking rosy. They are not good, if you ask me, sincerely speaking.
And what would you say is the reason why we're having these challenges at home? What would you say the reason? What is the agent causing this unrest?
Principally, I think there is problem of governance. It's beyond the economic challenges. Every country are going through economic challenges, especially in a year like this with the COVID-19. Every system is literally destabilized. But our situation is coupled with lack of accountability, no transparency. Government says something which they don't, which is not true. They claim we hear big money going out, but we cannot see the impact of that money. I think that's a failure of governance. It is not about which party is in power or not. Right from the local government up to the federal government, you may say there is near absence of government. People don't feel there is a government in place. People provide their own water, people provide their own electricity, people almost getting to provided their own road. So in such an environment, and there is no job, most factories are closing down, and employment is shrinking by the day. We are producing graduates without knowledge because we are just throwing them out to the streets. Apart from they don't have job, they are not even employable. I've said it in other platforms. Most Nigerian graduates today are not employable because you see maybe lecturers still teaching with notes that was prepared 10 years ago, 15 years ago. No improvement, no upgrading. So with such an environment, it's like everything is gloomy. Nothing seems to be working. So, yeah.
Wow, that is amazing. Now, talking about governance, you mentioned the word governance, while you're talking. What are some of the fundamental issues affecting governance in Nigeria today?
I think one of the major problems, which is what we inherited from the military, there is so much impunity in the system. There is lack of accountability. The government, I wrote an article which was published by Premium Times. I said the KBC knows all. So when everybody become a king in his own cycle, and not for the good of the people, but for oppression of the people. So when you see such a kind of environment, money, we have budget every year. I mean, look at, for instance, the issue of police barracks across the country. Every year, there is a budget provision for the maintenance of those barracks, but it is not maintained, and nobody is answerable. Nobody answers any question, and the money actually comes out of the treasury. Where does the money go? So okay, let me give you another example. From 1999, from this what we call Fourth Republic, they have been repairing Lagos-Ibadan Express Road, which is just at 190 kilometers. For 21 years, they have not completed it.
Wow.
And every year, there is a budget provision for that. No accountability, there's impunity. The government see themselves as masters and not as the servant of the people. And on top, there is no public service in Nigeria as of today. The public service has collapsed, public education has collapsed. So with such an environment, there's nothing is actually working. Even you can't get anything from local government without have to bribe your way through.
Hmm.
How, how do people survive in such an environment?
Yeah. Hmm.
It's beyond imagination.
Hmm. Hmm. Now, talking about our government, we have the present administration is headed by a former military leader. And just like we had in Egypt in the days of Hosni Mubarak, who was at one time a military, leader, you know, became other, resigned from the military and took over power. The same thing is what we have in Nigeria. President Buhari, I remember when our current prime minister's father was in power. That is Justin Trudeau's father, the President Trudeau, the original Trudeau, when he was in power. That was when President Buhari was the head of state under military regime. Now, Justin Trudeau, the son of the former prime minister, is now the president of Canada, and Buhari is still the president. So, is there anything wrong with the current system of government in Nigeria? Because to me, it doesn't make sense. Looking at this small analogy I just gave, when our current prime minister's dad was still the leader of a nation. Now, this current prime minister was probably in junior school or junior high when our President Buhari was in power, and now he's still in power. Is that something wrong with the government of Nigeria?
I think there's little mix up here. I think when there are some pictures that they circulated over time, where the Nigerian president was having a handshake with very young Trudeau. I think that was Gowan. And
Okay.
if after Gowan, Obasanjo came, Murtala actually, Obasanjo. Then after that, I was like about 3 years, 3 months of civilian government of Shagari before Buhari came December 31st, 1983, technically 1984. So, but having said that, the fact that this man was head of state in 1984, which is like 26 years ago,
Yeah.
and is now the president now, is itself is an aberration because I've written this for I've written a lot of things about this since since independence. We have been recycling leaders.
Mm.
So even those of us that are born in the 60s, none of us, the best they can we have attained to is to be, some of us have been governors of state. Beyond that, at the federal level, you have not seen, there's no one that is born in 60 that has made it to even become a vice president, not to talk of a president. So
Mm.
I think in an environment like us, that Obasanjo came back in 1999 and Buhari is now came back in 2015, that tells us of something that we are really not prepared for the future that came to meet us suddenly.
Mm.
So, and yes, comparing Buhari and Mubarak together, I think there's a bit of unfairness there now. The Buhari we know today is not the agile Buhari we knew in um, in
Before.
1984.
Before.
And you may call it a conspiracy theory. There was a power behind Buhari in 1984, which is the late General Diagma. And, it was the no nonsense person. And almost like Buhari was a ceremonial president, head of state then. But then you may call that a conspiracy theory. But what has happened since 2015 has seemingly proved that, before the late Abakari died, it's also a public knowledge that people were calling him the de facto president, though he
President.
was chief of staff. So a chief of staff that became so powerful that even the minister were reporting to him. So that shows a kind of it's a weak leadership. It came on the currency of integrity, but in management there are always two sides. There's integrity, there's competence.
Mm.
Yes, we in management we say that when somebody is competent and lack integrity, it's a huge problem. So when they voted for him in 2014, people were he rode on the currency of integrity, and but now if we want to, I mean, especially those of us who are not at home, who have nothing to lose. If we want to be sincere with ourselves, the corruption today in Nigeria from all education may be, may be deeper than when it was, where it was in 2015. I even
mm,
wrote a chapter about that in my book,
mm,
Thoughts of a Village Boy, where
mm,
I call them the parable of the beans and bread, if
mm,
you have read it. So I think the agility of a military that was expected from Buhari is not, we cannot see it. Even the
mm,
integrity which we expect of him, we have not seen demonstrated that. We still see a lot of nepotism. We see a lot of lopsidedness. If we have to be fair to ourselves, so it's not just beyond conspiracy theory. I think the expectation was too high, or reasonably too high, that this Buhari, okay, because of his pedigree, will be able to take Nigeria to the next level as they claim it by themselves. But
mm.
like I wrote a poem recently. I said doing well. I mean running well in the wrong direction. It's
Yeah.
like Nigeria is running very well, but unfortunately in the wrong direction.
Hmm. That is terrible. That's a major issue. Still on the Global Talkative series here, a platform to hang out, collaborate, and inspire one another. And our guest today is no other person than Mr. Bolutefe Oluwadele, a public policy analyst. And then I want to say thank you for those who are watching us from online, from around the world. Kami Wine, thank you for joining. Shade Latis from Nigeria, thank you for joining. And those who are watching us as well on Facebook and YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitch, and V Connect. Thank you for those who are joining us. We appreciate it. If you have any question, feel free to send your question on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram, and then we'll do our best to answer the questions. Now, back to you, Mr. Bolutefe. Still talking about the imbalanced governance and lack of competency in our governance and all of that. And I think that the political climate in Africa has been facing some volatile situations for some time due to the fact that politicians in Africa want to hold on to power by any means possible. Now, you see, like you mentioned, said something about recycling of uh, uh, politicians, from military, regime to the other regime, they were once in military uniform, now they're just in civilian uniform, and we've been having such kind of political climates, in Africa, not just only in Nigeria, that a president wants to continue his legacy. We've seen that in Zimbabwe, when you have Robert Mugabe staying in power for almost like 35 years. We've seen it in Congo, we've seen it in even in Libya before the fall of Gaddafi. We've seen it in a country like where I saw on CNN recently, when the president is in charge of everything, and also the son, I think it's in Guinea, yeah, Guinea Republic, where the son is the vice president and all of that. So, what seems to be the reason why this is such a major issue within African leaders?
I think the problem is most African leaders are actually not in control.
Hmm.
What I wrote in the notes, how Europe will develop Africa. That was a long time ago. What he said in his book, they were very true. But we have had enough opportunity as black people to reverse those things, to reverse those trends. But what do we have now? Our leaders still steal money from our continent and take it to Europe to build Europe. We are voluntarily, before Europe forced us to build Europe. Today we voluntarily are building Europe. There is I mean, apart from accountability, I think there is this the moment they're in power, they feel so insecure, so
Yeah.
insecure, so unsafe outside power,
Hmm.
because they've not done very well, because they are not accountable, because
Hmm.
of their level of impunity. So
Hmm.
that is why even Nigeria today, you see somebody after having enjoyed immunity as a governor for 8 years, then is afraid to just retire and
Hmm.
continue with the normal life. He wants to go to Senate.
Hmm.
So, and it's the same, this oppressive tendency of our people. There are so many of them in history. Even go to Zambia. I mean, Kenneth Kaunda. I read his book when I was in secondary school. Zambia
Hmm.
shall be free, and he became president, and he messed up too. I think
mm,
there is, I don't know, maybe it's the cause of an African people, Africa, of a black man, that when they
mm.
get to the seat of power, uh, they mess up. Even Abati, Dr. Abati, when he came
Ben
out as,
Abati.
yeah, he was even saying that there is juju in Aso Rock that turn the brain of people upside down. Maybe it is true.
Yeah,
I think there is a problem. There is a problem of inadequacy on the part of African leaders. That
mm,
the moment they are empowered, they feel they cannot. I mean, they feel so unsafe, so
yeah,
insecure to leave power, and
mm,
they would rather die empowered than to come out. But there are also lessons in history. Look at Samedo of Liberia. He
yeah,
built so much a fortress around himself, but again, it's also God. At a point in time, they turned against him, and we saw
yeah,
how he was ridiculed out of power. I think that is the if people are committed to their people, if people are committed to service, I think the decision we have today will not be so in our across Africa. And
mm,
again, like I've written several articles on that we are not in control of everything.
yeah,
Uh, the external still dictate to us, and because of that, external forces dictate to us. They control us. We are just there. We are like our leaders are like puppets in the hand
mm,
of foreign powers. So if
mm,
you and if God, because there's a disconnect again between the leaders and the people. When you
yeah.
have a people leaders, real people leader, I mean, like what we have in Arab, I mean, Chairman Mao of China.
Mao.
When you have
Yeah,
where we have and we have one. Essentially, we have a good example in Tanzania. Julius Nyerere
yeah,
was a people leader, and you saw that he was not somebody that was interested in acquiring wealth, or he lived a very simple life, and he governed his people very well. He was secured in and out of power. So because people are not governing very well, they feel so insecure out of
mm,
power. And
mm,
because of that, they try to perpetuate themselves in power. It's
mm,
cut across. I mean, there is crisis almost everywhere. So
mm,
it's unfortunate that again our people, because of this fear that you don't, they bring, bondage of respect. Respect should be earned, but
mm,
we in Africa leaders impose respect. So
mm,
you don't ask leaders question, you don't query them. Whatever they give you, you even praise them. And
mm,
again, especially for Anglophone Africa, they use this principle, which is still very active today. They use the principle of divide and rule. So because of that, there is we even the poor people hardly agree that they are
mm,
being oppressed. They would
mm,
rather fight among themselves. They would rather fight themselves than fight their oppressors. So there are a lot of again imbalances, in our people.
mm,
So if you have leaders, that people leader that emerge from the people themselves, that cater to the needs and aspiration of the people, I think Africa may may get it right. But unfortunately, like Mandela said, if Nigeria doesn't get it right, there's no likelihood that Africa will get it right. So there is
yeah,
so much body on us as Nigerians that we should get things right, because we are the last hope of Africa, of a black man, not just an African people. Nigeria is the hope of a black man. And if Nigeria is in a mess, black people, we are in a mess.
mm. That is amazing. Thank you for that. Talking in terms of the late Nelson Mandela, this is a man that should be angry and live his life, taking revenge on the oppressor of the land, so to speak. But the man display a level of decorum. The man display a level of maturity in the sense that in the face of the oppressor, the man still want everybody to live in a sane environment. He did what blew the mind of the whole world when he came back from the prison, and then he started the message of reconciliation. And this man lived his life just trying to make sure that, yeah, though we've been oppressed, but let's move forward. Why can't leaders in Africa, emulate such a man like Nelson Mandela? He wasn't perfect. I'm not saying he's a perfect man, but to some extent, why can't leaders in Africa? And this man did about how many times? Two times, and then he
No, he
vacated
did a
power.
single time. He did a single time
A
actually.
single time, yeah, sorry, single time.
Like I said earlier on, Mandela was the people's leader. Mandela went, if you read this book, The Struggle is My Life, if you read the path to freedom, this
Yeah.
so if you read most of this book, you will see that this guy was, came out and said, okay, hey, I want to live for the people. And he knew that anger consumed his victim. So
Yeah.
he believed that for him to rule very well, he was making that sacrifice for his people. So leadership that is not sacrificial is not a good leader. Even for
Mm,
those of us who are not ashamedly religious, we know that Jesus lived a sacrificial life,
yeah.
for people to enjoy salvation and all that. So see, the problem is like we have leaders that think about themselves and their immediate family. So they are not carved in the mold of Mandela. I've
Yeah.
written one of my tributes. I said, look, when will our, I even specifically when will Nigeria have its own Mandela? We need a Mandela in Nigeria, somebody who can, who want to live, who will live a sacrificial life, who is not concerned about is
Yeah.
what the benefit that accrues to him or to his immediate family. So we
Yeah.
have leaders in Nigeria now that they collapse public education, and
Yeah.
every day they show us on Facebook or on Instagram the graduation of their children abroad. So
Mm,
when you have such leaders, can I even within Africa, if I tell you the amount of money that Nigeria is, contributing to Ghana through education, you will be
wow.
amazed. That amount of money can build the best schools in Nigeria, but
Mm,
they allow our schools to collapse and public institutions collapse. There's nothing. I mean, what do people get benefit from government? You can't go to
mm,
hospital for a malaria treatment of 2,000 naira or 1,000 naira. You can't. I mean, the public primary school is the teachers there. They don't do anything. What do? They bring melon, egusi, what they call egusi, to the school for
yeah.
the children to be breaking for them. So
Wow.
you see some student of primary, even high school that cannot write simple letter. They cannot
Mm,
communicate very well. So many
mm,
of us were already writing letter for women when we were in
mm.
primary two, grade two.
Wow.
It's not exaggeration. We were doing that. I wrote an article that in this say my life as a community letter writer. I started writing letter for women when I was in grade two.
Mm,
So,
mm,
but
mm.
all those things, we have leaders that have no purpose. Again, let me also clearly define that like I said this somewhere last week. Leadership has three elements actually. You
Mm,
have the leaders, you have the followers, then you have the purpose.
yeah.
So the problem with Africa today is that African leaders, they don't have purpose. They just
Mm,
they like what I call positional authority. They are positional authority.
mm,
Sometimes I find it very difficult to call them leaders
mm,
because they have positional authority. They
mm,
are just occupying space. They are just occupying position.
mm,
So
mm,
because of that, because of the absence of purpose, you know, they
mm.
are not able to do as Mandela did. Mandela had the purpose. Mandela had the purpose for a new South Africa where nobody,
Mm.
is oppressed. So
Yeah.
because of that, he knew that he has to build a
Yeah.
bridge. He has to bring the people together.
Mm.
So he has to
That is amazing.
reconcile people so that everybody can contribute,
Mm,
meaningfully to the development of South Africa. So
that
that
is
is the kind
amazing.
of a leader that we need. But
Mm,
unfortunately, they are in shortfall.
yeah. Thank you very much. Still on the Global Talk series with our guest, Bolu Tife Oluwadele, and I want to appreciate those who are joining us from around the world. There is Beatrice Edema Arwood joining from River State, Nigeria. Also, Adeshola Orenuga, said something after Goan was Moritala. Then we have Beatrice saying something that the major problem we have in Africa today is question of leadership, like you were saying. And I said we have problems with our institution. Thank you for that. Then we have Adeshola Orenga saying we're actually not in control of anything. Yeah, you have a point there. He said, sir, our people actually surrender themselves to Stockholm syndrome. Maybe we'll get time to talk about Stockholm syndrome,
Yeah,
as we
Adeshala is
continue.
joining us from UK.
Yeah, okay, Adeshola Orenga from UK, thank you. Then we have
Yeah.
Adetumi Ajayi here from Calgary. Then we have Beatrice saying, no great improvement in the lot of mankind are possible until a great change takes place in the fundamental constitution of their Moses of thought.
As a mode of thought. True.
John Stuart Mill. Thank you very
Yeah.
much for that. And then they said, this is so true. So our leaders are more interested in their families. So all those who are joining us, thank you very much. If you have any question as well, you can send your question from Facebook or Instagram, or you can send your question in from VConnect or from Twitch or from Instagram, and then we'll do our best to answer the question. And also, Gbemi Sola and Kelly call from anywhere in the world you're joining us. Thank you very much for your message. We appreciate that. Thank you so much for having time to send in your question. Thank you very much. And Nigeria Studio, that's from Annie Aaron. Thank
That's
you
very
very much. Thank you very much for all of that. We're still on the Global Talk series, and while we continue this, I have another question. You said something about the issue of education. You mentioned education. Now, what is the reason behind the declining state of education in Nigeria? Because we have issues with our education system. Now, let me give you this example, which I'm sure those who are living abroad, will probably be, witness to. If you come into a country like Canada, your credential needs to be evaluated, or you need to these sort of evaluate your credentials to prove that yes, you have a credential that is commensurable to a degree of the same equivalent here in this country. But I don't think it's the same when you school in United Kingdom, or you school in United States of America, or you school in Germany. So why is this challenge? Why do we have this? Because I believe this has to do with a lot of challenges we have in our education system. So what is one of this? What seems to be one of the problems?
Well, thank you very much. There is some historical reason for most of this we see today. I will go a bit into history. In 1979, that was during the Second Republic, we have the NPN
Yeah,
and alliance with the NPP. So they form government. Then we have in the southwest we have
yeah,
the UPN. The UPN came out with the principle of free education up to secondary school, up to high school, what we call secondary school in Nigeria, high school here. So
yeah,
then the federal government came with some principle of, they call it quality education. And they have a Green
mm,
Revolution, which is for agriculture, and they have electrification of Nigeria, which led to the national grid. I've spoken about that elsewhere. So coming back to education now, as at that time there was this there was the problem that they wanted to bridge the education gap between the West and the rest of the country. Going back a bit back into history, before the Civil War, there was a bit of parity between the East and the West in terms of education. But after the Civil War, the trajectory changed. The East went to more of buy and selling, commerce, and the student of the apprenticeship system. Because of the economic devastation that was experienced during the Civil War. So because of that, over time, the West also overtook them in terms of education. So by 1979, the federal government then of the NPN said they wanted to bridge the gap between the West and the rest of the country. And like I've also said elsewhere, education has never been exclusive in the North.
mm,
It's elitist. They did not they have never pretended for to favor mass education. So one of the things that led to that that came out of that quality education, they brought in quota system as a way of bridging the gap. between the West and the rest of the country. They brought it was that was led to the establishment of JAMB. JAMB today has become like a nightmare to the southern part of the country. Then
mm,
all the federal universities at that time, they also have what we call a catchment area. So in which case, then you have cutoff marks for admission, which is not unified. It is then they have some state they call the educationally disadvantaged states. So you now see an admission process whereby those who gain admission on merit are less than 10% of the overall admission. You have the
mm,
catchment area, you have the discretionary list, then you have lower cutoff marks for some areas who are designated as educationally disadvantaged states. So because of all this all this reason, education, the quality of education started coming down. Though it was under the pretense of quality education that these things were done. Yeah.
yeah,
So over time, the government, the curriculum has not changed much time. They drop even some courses like civics, like history from the curriculum. So because of that, the quality of students uh, being admitted, only about 10% or even less than 10% were admitted on merit. So all this over time, you started building up over time. Then in 1988, when the liberalization of banking sector came,
yeah,
and everybody wants to work in the bank, and the condition is like, irrespective of the course you study, if you can have 2-1, you can work in the bank. So certificate grading became a matter of cash and carry. If you're a
mm,
man, you contribute money, and
mm,
if you are a female, unfortunately, you pay in kind, or what they
mm.
call bush allowance. So
Wow.
all these things, people, the scholarship, reading, studying
Mm,
became eroded. So people
mm,
don't go to school to study any longer. People go to school to acquire good grade so that they can get good job. But
mm,
unfortunately, the liberalization also led to a lot of economic problem, because every good were allowed from every part of the country. So all the industrial hubs in Lagos, in Ikeja, in Ilupeju, where you have the big company like Nestle, like PZ, that are
yeah,
mass employer of people, they started having challenges.
yeah,
Aswani, Five Star, and this is, Bompai in Kano, Kakuri in Kaduna, in Port Harcourt, Enugu layout, all those industrial hubs. They literally today, most of them are sold, and they are like place of worship. So,
mm,
and of course, government was also shrinking. Then in the 80s, when they moved to Abuja, there was massive construction going in Abuja. So a lot of work were happening, from mason to carpenters to laborers, everything. Then over time, within a period of 10 years, that became saturated, and there was diminishing return. So a lot of people that went to Abuja had to return back to Lagos when the opportunity became shrinked. So with all this thing combined together, people who don't have job now take to teaching as their last resort. So you see teachers, lecturers that are not in the mode to teach. You find them in
mm,
classroom. So they don't do research, they don't do everything. Like I said earlier on, you see a lecturer that is still using the note that was prepared 10 years ago, maybe by his own lecturer, or
yeah,
15 years ago. So with that kind of educational system, the quality is terribly low. And
mm,
it takes personal development of individuals to be able to, you know, to 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 move away, to operate above all this, the level of rottenness. But then that is the reason why when you come abroad, they want to assess your certificate to know, because the truth, like I've said it, I've been saying it for some time now, that our education lack knowledge. You have certificates, you have people with certificates, but without knowledge. It is
mm,
a sad reality. It is painful, but it is our sad reality.
mm. That is something that we need to, think about, because it's very painful, especially, and because a lot of in the Western world from different communities, they are not very sensitive to some of these issues. For example, I've had cases where some other communities, they were talking and they ask this kind of question, and it feels very, because I think you need to be sensitive to know, okay, what is right. Still talking about education, I had some folks ask, "Oh, how come you know how to speak good English?" And I find that very, very, insulting, because if you know where I'm coming from, I'm speaking, you're asking me, and I think I'm not blaming them in a way, because if our education system is uh well managed, and our image is properly presented, that would be a need for someone to be asking. But that's just by the wayside. But I think we need to
Can I
do.
quickly comment on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So there is a different issue there. There are a lot of people here that are very ignorant. They are very ignorant about Africa, and many of them don't know that there are some Africa countries, especially the Anglophone Africa countries, that their language of instruction has been English language from beginning.
Yeah,
So they assume that maybe, of course, for them to believe that African live on tree. So because they have narrow focus about life, they have narrow world view.
yeah.
So they only know about the environment. So that is understandable. So what you do in such instances is to educate them, let them know.
Mm,
I'm not. It's not something that that is too strange to me too, but I always take my time to educate them.
mm,
That
mm,
this,
mm.
yeah,
Thank you very much. So, still on on the Global Talkative series with our guest today, and talking about the challenges that we're having. The topic of today's discussion is the cry of a nation. Basically on what the challenges we're facing now in Nigeria, and all the issues around governance, politicians, and management of a nation, which is very, very important. And that leads me to the next question, which is also equally important. As a professional in your field, public policy analyst, fraud investigator, and all of that, do you think our constitution, Nigeria, needs a revamp or overhauling? Because we, in quote, a community or a set of governments is governed by rules and regulation, stipulated by the constitution. But if it's a definition of insanity that you're doing the same thing over and over for 60 years, and you're expecting a different result, it doesn't make any sense. So, as a public policy analyst and all of that, do you think we need some form of reformation, or revamping, or overhauling, or totally to discard the constitution and write a new one? Because President Jonathan tried to do something, but he never got through with the constitutional reform. So, what is your take, on the present constitution Nigeria?
yeah. Thank you very much. Before I go, I will still have to go historical here.
Okay.
We had good constitution up to 1966. We have the what we call the Republican Constitution. We have one constitution at independence. Then in 1963 we became a republic, and we have a review constitution which is called the Republican Constitution. So in 1966, when the military struck, um, it is some record that our a new constitution came up, which was a unitary constitution, which took every list to exclusive list, almost to exclusive list. So it is a unitary constitution because in the tradition of the military, so they brought that constitution. There is it is on record that that constitution was written by a single individual.
Hmm.
So I'm not here to mention the name. We know people. History has a record of who wrote it.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that was a counter coup, and another people came in which brought in Gowon that time. And rather than making an amendment of that constitution, they built on that constitution, and we have been building on that constitution till today. So even in 1979, because we have the Supreme Military Council, which Obasanjo succeeded Muritala when he was assassinated in 1976. So it was the regime of Obasanjo that produced the 1979 Constitution, which was handed over to the civilian, and they were not able to do anything about it. Then, of course, uh, the military struck that 1st December 1983, and no, and in 1985, Babangida, in the palace coup, overthrew um, General
Abacha.
Buhari. They
Buhari,
call it
okay.
no Buhari. No, so it was Buhari. Then there was a two-party system. Then we have a National Assembly, and that was 1993. And of course, they also produced a military constitution. Unfortunately, the election was an annul, and they brought in the Shonekan, which, interim government. We spent about 3 months or thereabouts. Then Abacha struck, and Abacha was preparing a return to civilian government when he died, and General Abubakar became the head of state and hurriedly put up a new constitution, which is the 1999 constitution, the current constitution that we're operating. So it is all from 1966 to date. All our constitutions were literally backed by the military. So it is not there was no consensus, there was no debate, or if there was debate, it was a very insignificant debate. So we don't have people constitution as yet. So that is why today you see the exclusive list is growing and growing. The federal government controls everything, despite the fact they don't have the capacity to do so. So you don't get anything done until you go to Abuja. That is why up to today you see Governor cap in hands going to Abuja. Many of them are actually literally leaving Abuja to go and beg for, maybe we can use palliatives again. Yeah, but that's the current language. So we don't have a constitution that speaks to the needs of the people. Constitution should speak to the aspirations and the needs of the people. Constitution should not be the whims and caprices of few individuals. But unfortunately, the constitution we have today is military, it's a constitution handed over to us by the military. It has always been like that since after that 1966. Yeah, I've seen some people who have said that let's go back to the pre-1966 constitution and adopt it. I think that is a very lazy approach to the issue because many waters are passed under the bridge.
Yep.
Today we have to have the courage. We need to have the courage to sit down and fashion out our constitution that can speak to our current needs. Constitution doesn't have to be completely perfect. That is why there is provision for amendment and renewal and all those things. But until we get a people constitution, we always have to have, we will always likely have continue to have this problem. For instance, there's nothing that education should be on the concurrent list. There's no need for jump. There's no need for all this, unity school that, you say somebody from one state should score, the cutoff mark is like 280, and another state is 2 marks. So where is fairness? Where is balance there? If you say my cutoff is 280, which means if I score 250, you will deny me admission. But you give admission to somebody who scored 2. So where is fairness there?
Yeah.
So, and these are things are backed up by the constitution, quota system, federal character, and all that. We need a people constitution. Definitely we do know. But we need a lot of courage. We need somebody who can drive that process. So we need a leader that can drive that process. We need a leader who believes in the project Nigeria. We have a leader who is not a sectional leader. We believe we need a leader who is not parochial. We need a leader who is not concerned about what he gets. But we need a leader who is so hungry to leave a legacy for generation yet unborn.
Thank you very
much. We
don't
have such a leader yet.
I hope we're getting there little by little. Just want to appreciate Nelson Itumi for joining us, and also Diary of a New Immigrant. Thank you for joining us, and also joining us from around the world. Thank you very much. Beatrice Edema Arod said, our curriculum, referring to, we can call our constitution our curriculum. Yeah, in Nigeria is not in line with the current realities on ground. You can be more perfect than that, which is actually, true. And talking about, in terms of this constitution, which I believe that we need to do an overhauling or completely, change it, do something better. Rules or laws are made by men, not, and they can be changed, or you know, do something better, which I believe so much. We have another comment from Annie Aaron says that let's divide that nation. The new countries will sit tight and work hard. The foundation of Nigeria is messed up. Everyone's tribe is okay with a looter as long as he's from their tribe, but not okay when others are looting. Why can't Alison Diziani return to Nigeria today? Because she's looted NNPC dry, and it's true. We still have parading the streets of United Kingdom, still saying something about the youth, and also Adeshola or Renuga said federal character and quota system as opposed to merit is very shameful. Thank you very much for all those contributions. And I'm still talking about the governance rules of engagement in Nigeria, how we should run government. I was in a discussion some days ago with some well-meaning Nigeria, and the person said something. He said, if I have the opportunity to be a Nigerian leader, I will run Nigeria, and use volunteers. Like for example, that if I happen to be Nigerian president, then I will make the cost of governance very, very cheap in the sense that the senators will work as a volunteer, the lawmakers, both all the arms of government, apart from judiciary, the law arm, the upper house and lower house, and all those commissioners, ministers, there will be a volunteer position. Now, that leads me to the next question on how can we make the cost of governance in Nigeria so cheap that because when you breaking down the analysis of the amount of money earned by our legislators, at some point I call them legislators because how can it doesn't make sense when the majority of the budget of a nation is servicing few hundreds. We can't pay minimum wage, but an average senator goes home every month with millions. Millions. To me, it's an aberration. So, how can we make the cost of governance so cheap in Nigeria? Because I think the money is very attractive to a lot of folks, and that is why they want to do it. It's a case of do or die. It's either me or nobody, and that is why people go the extra mile to want to just get into power because once you become a senator, automatically you become a millionaire. So, what do you think we can do to make the cost of governance unattractive in terms of the monetary gain, or can we even run Nigeria on volunteer-based system?
Well, I don't think Nigeria is completely strange to volunteering. It may not be in the mode of what we see in the Western world. I remember growing up in the village as a village boy. I remember those days when you have a ceremony, the other local hunter will gather together and they will go to the bush for you to hunt for animals. And they come with big animals, and you that you are doing the ceremony, you don't have to spend money on that. So, and when it is the turn of another person, they will go around and do that. So that was that communal effort, which is a form of volunteering. So we do that, and then that was, of course, we grew up as living a communal life, a system that if we have not allowed to collapse, even other nations would have been coming to learn from us.
Yeah.
So having said that, the current structure, especially of the legislator, is nothing but crazy. I mean, for lack of a good word to describe it, it's much more than aberration. Because I can a few people will be taking close to the budget for maintenance is more than the budget of education and health combined. Yeah. And somebody even says, look, you are even talking about that out of even the budget of health and education, they will still take out of it under the pretense of oversight function.
Wow.
Every vice chancellor, every rector, every provost of university, polytechnic, and colleges of education, they reserve a substantial part of their budget for this committee members of the National Assembly.
Hmm.
So even the meager amount that is allocated to education, that is allocated to health, almost 10 to 25% of it still go back to the same set of people.
Wow.
And it is callous. It is beyond callousness. And of course, they will tell you it is in the Constitution because they wrote the Constitution for themselves. So the greediness of them is, because they don't have fast, even when they think the executive are having more money than them because of the evil, evil of what they call, security votes. Yeah. So they came out with the ingenuity of constituency projects so that they can also have their own security votes. I think the things like make legislation a part-time job. After all, they are not even doing anything. And what did they do? What have they legislated? What impact have they have on the economy? The education is collapsing. We don't have electricity in Nigeria. The roads are bad. So what are they legislating? What are we even spending that money for?
That is why calling them legislators is not understatement.
I make it a part-time job. Let them do it on part-time basis. They can be sitting 1 or 2 days in a week, and you pay them some
allowances.
You pay them allowance, not ridiculous allowances, because you have to fix that allowance to make sure it's not a do a day of kind of allowance. And then you see a lot of videos going around. What do? They go there to sleep, to doze away.
Yeah.
And the day they are active, they are exchanging blow. They are boxing themselves. What do? What do the legislator even do? So we need to have a part-time system that paid only allowance, and they have retinues of personal assistants, senior assistants. Actually, what those guys should be doing, the SA, the PAs, is to be their brain box. They're supposed to be conducting research on legislative matters for them. But what do? They help them to carry phone. Maybe they help them post into Twitter accounts. And they carry, permit me to use, they help them to negotiate Olosho for them, as they say in Lagos. So it is very ridiculous. Very ridiculous. So let us change the structure. Again, these are the things that a new constitution can address. That is why when they say that the current National Assembly cannot amend our constitution, we need an independent body that love Nigeria, that want Nigeria to progress, to sit down as a constituent assembly and fashion out a new constitution. I'm aware also that what they did during Jonathan regime, they had a very good document. We can look at that document and review it, because some of the things there may no longer be relevant now because of the reality of the world order. I mean, even this COVID is sufficient to reset our brain. But what have we seen? We've seen our government hoarding things that did not even produce, did not even incur any expense on it. They were hoarding it, and somebody was repackaging it as a birthday gift.
Wow.
That is the callousness of our people. That is the callousness of our leaders, so-called leaders, positional leaders, not real leaders.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you, because we are almost our time's almost spent. We have about a minute more to just end this conversation, and I wish we can talk about the palliatives that were kept. That people are now taking, their palliatives. They're actually the right owners of the palliative are taking it, and all of those things. And in just less than a minute, just give us a closing remark on the state of the nation, the cry of the nation, before we round up this today's discussion.
The nation is bleeding. The nation is bleeding, and is bleeding, ceaselessly. But the nation can still heal, can stop the bleeding. I think it is time for the people to rise up, not in crisis, not in rioting. They should rise up as a voice to speak for themselves, to say to the rulers, enough is enough. It is time for us to join hands and fix Nigeria. Nigeria can be fixed. Like I said earlier on, Nigeria is the hope of a black man. So, and for black man to gain dignity, to gain respect, in the Committee of Nations, we have to fix Nigeria, and Nigeria is fixable.
Hmm. Thank you very much. Nigeria is fixable. I believe so much in it, and that is why we do what we do here to lend our voice to the challenges of the day that end SARS, end police brutality, end bad governance in Nigeria. And for those who are watching us from around the world and those who called those who are at the ends of affair in authority, I believe uh this conversation is for us. Is for us to life has given us the opportunity to do the right thing. The protesters did an amazing job for 10 days, something that has never happened before in this job of, peaceful protest. But, on the 11th or 12th day, something that went, a wire, and then we have this major challenges happening in Nigeria, and not only Nigeria, as we speak now, in Congo, there's an issue about the governor, the president who wants to remain in power. The same thing in other parts of South Sudan. We have these major issues all across Africa, and I think it's time for us to do things in a right way. To do things responsibly. To have a heart to really serve, because leadership is about service, not about you want to enforce your rules and regulation. And to those who are joining us from around the world, once again, thank you very much. We appreciate you for all those who are sending in messages. Thank you very much. Until we come again with amazing and a wonderful topic with another guest. I'm still your host, Lanre Ajayi, and I want to say this in closing: you can either be your brother's keeper or your brother's killer. Who are you? Thank you very much, and bye for now. And thank you to our guest, Mr.
You're welcome.
Obolutefe Oluwadele. Thank you. We'll see
Thank you
you
for
too.
having me.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks. Yeah.